Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. My name is Jackson Mummy, and each week we'll be bringing you updated information about the bar exam and what you need to do in order to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Ready to get started? Let's jump to it. Hey everybody, welcome. Today is Wednesday, December 6th. We're glad to have you all with us. If you are here live today, glad to have you. If you're watching on replay or in the podcast, again, glad to have you. I'm joined as always today by Judge Tracy and by Brianna and by June. And we're glad to have all of you guys here. It's December. How weird is that, right? This is a weird time to study for the bar exam because everybody else is having the holidays and you don't get to have the holidays. And I'm just going to say it doesn't always feel good. We recognize that. What we're going to be doing today, I don't think we're going to be in a holiday spirit necessarily, but we are going to bring you up to date on some things. We got some exciting stuff happening. We're going to give you some news around the country on bar exam. And we are then going to take some questions and let the panel work on giving their answers to those things. So let me start with a couple of announcements, or actually a piece of news that I wanted to get out there. As we've been talking about the next generation bar exam that's coming in 2026, 2027, 2028, somewhere in there. And this week we got our sixth or seventh jurisdiction, I guess, that announced that they will go to the next generation exam. That's Arizona, a UBE state. They will begin the next generation exam in July of 2027. So we now have 7 states, Connecticut, Iowa, Maryland, Missouri, Oregon, Wyoming, and Arizona, all have committed to the next generation exam. Still no word from California, Florida, Georgia, some New York, Texas, the big states. So that is just something to put in the back of your head. But again, don't expect that would impact anybody that's probably watching or listening today. Having covered that, I do want to talk about the boot camp booster. Very excited about this. It is going to be online via Zoom on December 16th and 17th. So that's a Saturday, Sunday. And what we're going to be doing is giving you the opportunity to work in a very limited, a very small number of people that we're going to accept into this opportunity to work with our coaching staff on just about everything. June's going to be there to work on mindset. Brianna, you're going to be working on what, MBE, I think, on Saturday. Is that right? Am I getting
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But it's always time you're going to get to work with me on MBE. So it should be fun.
Yeah. And you're an MBE killer. So I think people will enjoy getting your take on that. That's going to be in small breakout sessions. I'm going to be teaching on activation and study process and some other things. And then Tracy, you're going to be doing some essay writing coaching.
Yes, both days.
Yeah. Saturday and Sunday. Amanda's doing the performance test and she's doing, I can't even remember what, there's a lot. There's so much, and I can't keep track of all of it. Here's what's going on. In order to enroll in the booster, you need to pay $100 deposit. You can still enroll. The way that this works is you pay your $100 deposit, that reserves your seat, and then your balance is due by December 10th. And it's a 2-tiered pricing structure. If you have been to one of our boot camps before, you get a $200 discount. If this is your first time, there's no discount, but the total course fee is only $800. And one of the great parts about this is that our buy now, pay later partners, Klarna and Affirm and Afterpay, are all available for the booster program. So you can actually stretch your payments out over months. And it's really easy to do that. Now, we've got people already registered and paying their deposits. We are going to open this up to non-CBR students. We've given the opportunity to our Celebration Bar Review students. So if you are watching this as the podcast, you are welcome. We'll put the link in the show notes. You're welcome to check it out and enroll. But if you're a CBR student, you absolutely should be there. I think it's a great opportunity, but we are keeping it small. I think we're going to keep these breakouts to 2 or 3 people per coach, which is pretty amazing, isn't it? Brianna, what's it like to be able to coach in those small sessions like that?
Great. It's incredible, right? So you really get some individual one-on-one time with each other. You still get a little bit of that feedback from your peers and what they're going through and their approaches and my approach. And we really get to dig into how we analyze essays and MBEs and MPTs and boost those points that you can get on that exam. So I love working in the smaller groups.
Yeah, I think we all do as coaches. It's really fun and we like the interaction and you get to meet some other students. The nice part of Zoom, of course, is that you don't have to travel anywhere. And so it's pretty convenient. We're going to start at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, both days on Saturday and Sunday. And we will be done by about 4 or 4:30 Mountain Time with some breaks, obviously, and some lunch breaks and so on. So it's a very convenient way to do this. We will record the sessions as well. So you'll have the opportunity to go back and review. And I think it's just going to be a terrific opportunity. Now, again, if you've already registered and paid your deposit, you need to make your balance payment by December 10th, or you will risk losing your seat. So make sure you take care of that. If you have any questions, reach out to June and she can help you with that. I am very excited about this. First time we've done this booster, but I think it's going to be a really great experience. Tracy, you've done some boot camps now. This is a little different, isn't it?
This is different. This is something that we've been talking about for a while, being able to add this different modality. Here's the thing. Here's why you should sign up. Because in this one weekend, you're going to have personal attention from every single coach on their specialties. And you're going to have personal attention from Jackson in terms of a group teaching session. And then he will also have a breakout and he'll be available in that breakout for you to jump in with him and ask him whatever you need to. He'll just be there and working on that. But we'll be working, Brianna, Amanda, June, and I'll be working on specific content. And to be able to be with all of us in a concentrated format in 2 days, this is what I'm excited about. I think things are going to click for you in this boot camp. I think lights are going to flash on in your brain because you're going to have a chance to assimilate and to coordinate all of what you're learning. So I really encourage you. It's not that expensive. It doesn't take that much time. There is going to be some work we want you to do beforehand. So you come in with an essay, for example, you come in with a mind map already done so that we can take you where you are and work from there. And so it's a different format from boot camp, which is more teaching you how to do things. This one, we assume that you know how to do those basic things. Now we want to improve your skills in those areas. So yes, come and join us, join the fun and join the boot camp booster. We'd love to have you.
Great. And June, you and I have been doing this for years. And I think one of the things that you and I have seen a lot of is that somebody comes to boot camp and they start to get it. And hopefully it's good enough to get them over the top. But for a lot of people, they need a little bit of a boost, don't they? Post boot camp to get that extra set of points that they need. And we saw that happen in 2023. We saw a bunch of people that had been to boot camp in 2022, maybe, and have COVID who blew past the scores that they needed.
Yeah, and what I think people need to understand is we have had students who have come to boot camp twice. And that second time was so beneficial because when you come, it is a lot of information and it may not all land. And that's why this booster is great, even if you were just at the last one, because it just drives in. Or what happens when you left and you went, oh man, I wanted to find out about that, or I wanted to ask that question. Here's your chance. But the other thing is after boot camp or any kind of live learning interaction, we have what I call the dumps. You leave, you're high, you're like motivated, you're like, yeah, let's do this. And then about a week and a half later, you're home and you're back in reality and the dumps hit. And you're like, what did I learn? This is really great to help pull that motivation up. We're going to give you some tricks or tips, not tricks, tips and tools to keep your motivation going during the holiday season into January. And I think this is the boost you need to really get that energy that is going to take you into February. Because if you don't do something for yourself by mid-January, you are going to be tired. I think it's a great opportunity. And again, you are in your own home, but we're right here. We're talking to you. We're going over everything. and so you have the comfort, you can wear jammies, nobody's gonna know. You don't have to go anywhere. But you're gonna still get the benefit of us right here. And while I love live, I love being there because I can see so much around me. As Jackson, I like to read the room and just see how your body's feeling. And I tell a lot by that. And so this is a little different, but I still think there is so much to be had by coming to this booster. And it's just going to benefit you because, a lot of us don't learn like the first time we do something. I know with myself, it may take a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all that really makes sense. One of the questions that I've gotten is, do you have to be a photo reader to come to the booster? You do not. We will be talking about all of the skills and techniques, but if you're not a photo reader, it still applies to you. We're going to show you how to mind map. We're going to have you show us your mind maps. We're going to work on those, among other things. So really join us. Just be there and take advantage of it. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you. If you paid your $100 deposit, look for the email from us. It's been sent out with the link to pay your balance. So check that out. If you're not finding that, let June know and she can get that for you. All right. That's great.
We have a chat question. Will time management be covered?
That's a very good question. Maybe. I suspect we're going to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to talk about it in the context of activation and study process. We're not doing what we did for boot camp itself, where Brianna met with people individually. That's not part of this booster program, but I know there'll be some discussion of time management. Am I safe in saying that, Brianna?
Oh, yeah. In our breakout session, we will have a focus on NDE. If we've got time, you've got a specific question, obviously you have me available to ask those questions, and I'm happy to address as in each breakout session as long as I feel like it's going to be valuable for the group as a whole.
And of course, you can always register for Brianna's time management workshop, which is one-on-one coaching. This is a great way to help yourself. Brianna will help you actually set up a schedule, a spreadsheet, because she's a spreadsheet queen, and go get yourself all set there. That's the answer. I want to jump into student questions. And the first question I got this week actually reminded me that this is the time when I start making some assignments for all of our photo readers. And Brianna, this will sound familiar to you. We have now reached the stage, if you're a photo reader, where I want you to do the following. Every night before you go to bed, certainly after you brush your teeth and said your prayers, I want you to photo read on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. I want you to photo read your multi-state outline books. That's multi-state book 1 and 2. It will take you about 30 minutes or so to get through all of those outlines. I just want you to photo read them, and you don't have to activate them. You certainly want to preview them a little bit and prepare, but just photo read them, and then turn on the Memory Supercharger Paraliminal, which is in your photo reading course, and go to bed, and it'll put you to sleep. Then on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I want you to photo read from your state outline books. So Florida outline books, UBE, which is just one book, one volume, the California outline book, and the Georgia outline book. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you're doing the same thing with your state books. Sunday night, you don't have to do anything. The purpose of this is to help layer in the photo reading. It's different than the assignments, but it's just an extra piece that you do every night. Let me turn this over to you, Brianna, because I know you're a photo reader. You did some of this, didn't you, where you were doing nighttime photo reading?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things I don't know if you've been on my group coaching call, you've heard this before, but I strongly encourage you to use the photo reading affirmations. There is a PDF, I believe, in the files that has the affirmations that you should say before and after. It helps prepare you for what you are about to photo read and then digest what you have just photo read. There's something about photo reading right before you go to sleep at night, allowing that subconscious or unconscious brain to do its thing, allow it to sink in and take you into the next day. The dreams, and if you're into all that, and sometimes you dream about things that help you solve problems. So I think that there is an enormous benefit to start photo reading in those larger quantities now, as Jackson's recommending, because what you're going to start doing as we get closer to the exam is photo reading all of it. And the more times that you guys see all the material and photo read all the material, the more it's going to sink in and start taking those connections and connecting those dots between your subconscious, unconscious, and conscious brain. So yes, I probably photo read each outline about, I don't know, 75, 100 times. But
Yeah, I
it's
would
a
say
lot.
it needs, yeah, exactly. And that's what we want you to be doing. So check that out. When we're talking about photo reading, of course, one of the ancillary pieces is mind mapping. And I get a lot of questions about mind mapping. I got an interesting comment this week about mind mapping. Students said, I found it difficult to start the mind maps. It's hard to make a map when you don't know the way yet. It was a challenge to make the material make sense. And I was struggling a little bit with the mind mapping. I thought that was a valid point. Let me give my thoughts and then I'll turn over to Tracy and Brianna as well. I think that the way you start with mind mapping is to keep it really simple and recognize that this is a dynamic process, not a static process, and that it's okay to have multiple mind maps within subjects. In fact, it's almost a necessity, whether you're doing them by hand or by computer. So the place to start is simply by mind mapping the table of contents and then working down to the next level in the table of contents. So you start with your Roman numeral big topics, and then you go to the smaller topics. And then within those smaller topics, you start creating a third level of mind maps. I don't think it's necessary to go more than 3 levels deep, although sometimes you'll want to, but I think for most subjects, 3 levels is about right. This question of not knowing how to mind map when you don't know the subject yet is really begs the question, because the mind map is what helps you begin to understand the subject, I think. So whether you've read or photo read a topic and you've listened to the lecture, now you start creating a broad outline. And if you don't feel like you know exactly where the subject's going, then stay with the broad outline. And as you begin to get question practice done, essays or multiple choice, then you start adding to your mind map as you're working through it. So that's the process that I see. It's like a funnel coming down and starting to get more focused. Tracy, let me throw that back to you. Do you have suggestions about the mind mapping process?
I do. You need to make sure that you start and you always keep it relational within the subject matter. So a good way, if you don't know how to do it any other way, is to have your claims for a specific substance topic on one side. I like to use my left side for that, and the defenses on the right side. And then you start building your mind map based on how does a dispute come before a court in this area of law? What is it that you're going to be expected to know in this area of law? And if you can't relate the claims and the defenses, you're not going to get any points. You're not going to get the answer right on the MBE, and you're not going to be able to write a memo to the partner in the MPT about what's going on. So start however you do it visually, whether it's a house. I like using a tree trunk with branches, but start making it relational. It's not like flashcards. You have to know how these various things relate to each other so that when you close your eyes and you see the mind map in front of you, you have that knowledge laid out before you and how it relates to the other side of the substance.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Brianna, I know you use mind map a lot. What's your thought about that? When somebody says, I'm not sure how to get into a mind map when I don't really understand the whole subject.
Yeah. There's 2 pieces that you mentioned that I want to really focus on. First, I completely agree with what Jackson's saying with starting with the table of contents. Just start somewhere. And if mind maps make you really uncomfortable and just can't figure out how to use it and make it work for you, just start somewhere. Use it as your note taking when you're listening to the lecture, and like Jackson said, let it be a dynamic process where I can tell you with a fact, my criminal law mind map looks completely different than, let's say, my secured transactions, or one that I created much more deeper into the course when I got more familiar with it and figured out how it worked for me and figured out what made sense in my head. And you don't hesitate to go back and revise it and do something a little different and work from it. They don't all have to look the same. So incorporating what Tracy was saying, like if you've got some of a relational thing, I don't know if your secured transaction still relates back to a waterfall effect, but when it does, maybe, I don't know. My mind map looks very much like a waterfall effect because I visualized what Jackson was saying in his lecture when I was listening to it. And I was like, that's how I need to do it. Like this first, then, and then keep moving down. So it just made sense to me. That doesn't mean that's what your mind map has to look like. It just has to make sense to you. And you will develop a mind map that makes sense to you the further you get into the course. So be patient with yourself. Just get started by using the lecture. If you can't get started and you can't visualize it, you're just not an artist, then start with using it as a note-taking strategy, incorporate into it, try new things, and just play with it. For lack of a better word, it's make it work with you, not against you, and don't make it be this task or chore that you have to go do.
Yeah. And don't worry about making it perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect is the enemy of good. Let it grow, let it develop, let it help you understand the material. I think those are really great suggestions. Thank you both for that.
Make it colorful. Make it colorful.
Yeah, I like colorful.
Because your brain is going to remember that as an image, as a picture. And that's what distinguishes it from just writing in black ink on flashcards. Everything just flows together. You might remember the colors, and the colors can then give you the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to talk a lot about mind maps at the booster. All right, let's switch gears here for just a minute. I got some questions as results have come in across the country, and now we're finished with the July results. Inevitably, I get questions from people who come close but don't pass, who say, is there an appeal process in my jurisdiction? The brief answer is, I am not aware of any appeal process in any jurisdiction other than a request to hand score your Scantron sheets for the MBE. But there is no bar exam jurisdiction that offers the opportunity to appeal or rescore the written part of your exam. So unfortunately, if the results were that you did not succeed on this test, then you got to get back in and take the other exam. I always get nervous when people start focusing on appeals because it means they're looking backwards, not forwards. And since there's no appeal process, it's a real waste of time and energy. And I know it feels comforting and you think, God, I should be able to appeal this. You should, but that's not the world we live in. So you just have to accept that score and then move forward. Another question that I got, interestingly enough, how these questions tend to coalesce. I think it's because people are moving through the course at roughly the same period. But Florida bar takers, I got a few questions from them this week about criminal law and criminal procedure. And so if you're not a Florida bar taker, you can tune out for about 30 seconds here. Florida tests criminal procedure in their Florida multiple choice section of the exam. And we cover that, and it's unique to Florida, and there's some specific rules and timelines and so on. But what about criminal law? Criminal law for many years was only tested on the multi-state in Florida, as it is in most jurisdictions. But then a couple of years ago, Florida started asking essay questions based on criminal law. And so the question came up from students, is there a set of Florida distinctions for criminal law? And the answer is no. When Florida tests criminal law, they test the multi-state criminal law. Now, the bigger point I want to make to all of you, regardless of what jurisdiction or state that you're in, is we are very good at making sure that our materials match up to what the examiners are testing. And I know that Amanda does a lot of editorial work for us, and as do others, but we always are working back to the bar examiner outlines and making sure that our materials are relevant and on point for that. So if you don't see something there, it's not because we forgot it or missed it. It's because you don't need it. The direct answer is criminal law. You study from the multi-state materials if you're in Florida. Now, there's some other jurisdictions that do test criminal law. Some of them are a little more specific, like Georgia. But generally speaking, if you're in the UBE, there's nothing that's state specific ever. So just be aware of that. And of course, if you have a question, let us know and we'll let you know specifically. All right. I jumped through those questions quickly because I've got a question this week that I thought was really intriguing on a couple of different levels. And I'm not sure if Tracy or Brianna have heard this question. So I'm going to read it and then give them a chance to process it, and I'll give my response. Student said, I'm writing to ask your advice on whether or not a mock exam might be more difficult than the real one, and whether I should depend on the result to project my performance for the upcoming February exam. So that's the first question. Is taking a practice test now going to be predictive of how I'm going to do in February? But it gets more interesting. Here's what the student went on to say. Recently, I did a 200 question mock exam from a manual, the book, and I got a result and it was whatever. And I know that a manual is not part of our curriculum, but I saw that some questions were similar to some of the celebration questions. So that's the second part. And now here's the third part. I've been preparing for quite a few months while working, and the result was disappointing to me since I've been spending 15 to 20 hours every week for the past 2 to 3 months. Should I postpone based on this score? Okay, there's a lot there to unpack. So let me take the three things that this student asked and give my response, and then I'll turn it over to Tracy and Brianne. First of all, should you depend on the result of a test you take in December for your results in February? Unequivocally, no. There is no world in which your results in December will be indicative of your results in February. It's way too early, no matter how long you've been studying. And you should be dealing with process, not results at this stage. So that's my first response to that. So let's take that and we'll just take that part first. And let me flip that over to you, Brianna. What's your answer to that question? Is it predictive to take a test now? Is that going to tell us anything for February?
Absolutely not. I don't care if you're getting 100% right or 0% right now. It's not going to determine or predict what you're going to do on the February exam.
Okay. Tracy, what's your view of that?
It's going on a ride in Disney World. It's fantasy.
It is a fantasy. Okay. All right. So we're all in agreement on that. So that's the first part. Second part was that this student went off to a third-party source to get questions. Now, there's a couple of things I got to say about that. First of all, it's no skin off my nose. You want to go spend your money and your time doing it, you could. But here's the thing. Number one, our questions are all licensed questions. They're the real ones. If you go to a third-party source, they are not licensed questions. They are not produced by the NCBE. Their answer explanations don't come from any source that's licensed. And so therefore you're getting mishmash. So using those questions is totally pointless in my view. You've got 2,100 questions in this course. I have no idea why you would feel the need to do more questions. And I'm not putting the student down. I'm just saying I appreciate that they want to do them, but there's no reason to. Very few students get through all 2,100 questions in our course. And so when you're using these third-party sources, are they predictive in any way? In my experience, no, there's nothing predictive about it. And they might be similar, but they're not the same and they're not licensed. And so it doesn't really mean anything, in my view, when you're using that source. Tracy, let me flip that back to you. You have any comments about that?
It's like riding a ride at Disney World.
Okay. There's a theme here.
Guys, I don't use outside sources. I said it before. I went down that path and I didn't pass the exam because you are so lost in what you need to be focusing on and when to do what. And you just continue to go in circles. If you follow the course that Celebration has panned out for you, you are going to get enough information. You're going to do enough practice tests, enough practice questions. You have all of the information you need in this one course. Don't go using other sources.
Let me throw it over to June because I see she's on here. So I think she wants to say something.
I do. So this just reminds me, Jackson, of once again, a student or anyone that is frustrated and is scared and just wants to move on, and we get it. And I see you, I hear you. But what it is, if I have that one thing could catapult me and I could pass this, here's the thing. You have everything. You have a complete course, and the one thing is you, and you have it. You just need to take a breath and calm down and not overcomplicate and overthink it. The more curriculum you add on to yourself, especially from outside sources where the methodology doesn't match with us, you're going to just overwhelm yourself and it's not going to benefit you.
Yeah. Brianna, the student was talking about using this outside course. And as you pointed out, you did that. It's not a successful strategy. And I applaud their desire to want to do everything. But unless we've seen that they've done all of the practice exams and questions in our course, there's no real value to it, is there?
No. And I have a spreadsheet of all of the things that I did with all of the MBE questions because I was type A trying to figure out what my percentage was at any given time for every 25 questions. So I know I only did about 500 multiple choice questions. I didn't touch them all. I passed with flying colors. You can too. Don't get bogged down in the weeds. There's plenty of material. You do what's been told to you in your syllabus and you'll be just fine.
All right, good. And then the third part of the question was based on what this student had been doing. They said, should I postpone? Because I've been spending 20 hours a week studying, got 3 months to go. My advice to that student would be do not postpone, certainly not based on the results you got. There's just no reason to do that in my view. And if you were going to postpone, I think it's too early to make that decision anyway. We've got a long way to go here until the exam. There's this tendency of bar takers to think that suddenly the exam is imminent when in fact it's still a very long way away. And so it's way too early, even if you were working on our materials. And if you were getting, let's say 35% correct in our materials at this point, doesn't mean anything because the point of the questions is to help you learn. It's not to be predictive. Predictiveness comes in early February when you start doing full length tests from our course. So that's my take there. Tracy, Brianna, either of you want to comment about that?
There's no reason to delay, but just get off the fantasy ride and do your work. Just do your work. There's no substitute for doing the work. And you can have all the algorithms you want and all the spreadsheets you want and all the things, the type A things you want, but there's no substitute for just getting prepared and doing it.
Just follow the course. Brianna?
Yeah. Don't be me, by the way. Don't be psychotic because you're going to drive yourself insane doing it. So let me talk you off that course. I started studying for the February bar exam in maybe June, and it was dabbling a little bit and then getting really into it probably in August. So I was in a similar boat as this student. I can tell you that things did not start clicking for me until towards the end of January, going into the beginning of February. It's a process. I know we say that all the time, but it is a process. Don't postpone yet. If you're still hanging off that ledge, beginning of February, that may even be where you're like, okay, I should have a conversation with one of us to figure out where you really are. And then maybe we'll let you know, okay, way too soon though.
Yeah. And if you're in our course and you're doing questions online, we're able to track the progress. And of course, there are some worksheets in the course itself where you can self-report. And we check that. I watch that pretty carefully. If I see something that I thought was really aberrant, I would drop in and let you know. But the truth is that really no score at this stage. It's going to tell us how you're going to do in February. It's just not going to happen. And so take the pressure off yourself. Don't try to do extra work from third-party sources, and don't try to predict what's going to happen 90 days from now based on what you're doing today. There is no correlation in the 30 plus years that I've been doing this. So I'm glad that this student is working so hard. I'm concerned that they felt frustrated because of a third-party view of this, and I don't want that to happen to anybody. Thanks for asking the question. Good to ask the question. And again, we're not trying to slam any other companies. They have their own approach and their own materials. But if you're in our course and you're using those, it's probably not going to be very relevant or very helpful to you. All right. Another question that we are getting a lot of, people are asking, can I add photo reading at this point in my studies leading up to the February exam? Is there time? The answer is yes. This is a good time to add it. And can I add personal coaching? And the answer to that is absolutely. You can add personal coaching. Several students said, where do I find those prices? If you go to the Upgrade Center in your online course, you will see there are a variety of options, everything from personal writing workshops. And Brianna, you do the personal writing workshop. And then there's an MPT workshop with Amanda. There's an MBE workshop with Amanda. There's a variety of those. And then there's personal coaching with me, with Brianna, with Amanda. Tracy's doing some personal coaching this cycle. And there are some opportunities. However, having said all that, and of course, there's Calming the Chaos with June. But talking about all of that, the answer is now that we're in December, this is the time when you should be getting your coaching calls in. This is when you should be starting out, in my view. Some of you, I think, are probably thinking to yourselves, I'll wait till January. It's more effective the more time you've got to process, to hear what we've got to say, and then reflect on that and begin to employ it. So I want to make sure that you're checking that out. If you need more specific advice or directions on how to order, you can always email us and we will help you. And again, as with all of our products and services now, they're all available to pay over time with our third party partners. And so you'll see that option when you go to checkout. So if you're thinking about taking the February exam or you're registered for the February exam and you're thinking about coaching, I think this is the time to begin. This is, in my experience, when it's most beneficial to you. All right, Tracy, I know you want to talk about TWOS, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. When I was a young pup and had been licensed as an attorney in Colorado for maybe 8 or 9 months, I got my first felony criminal defense case. And I was unable to settle it in a way that was satisfying to my client and also to the district attorney. And so we headed into trial. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had done everything I learned in law school about preparing for trial, which was precious little. But I had taken student clinic and I had taken evidence and I had taken all the things that I could in litigation. But really, I had no intention on defending criminal defense cases. But here I was. And so I did all my flashcards and I did all my notebooks and I had all my exhibits labeled and I had them, sorry, I had them cross-labeled and I had my direct examinations written out and I had my cross-examinations, the points I wanted to get. And I had all of this stuff. And I remember all of these suitcases and all that. And my mentor at the time, his name was Bruce Macmillan, and he stopped me the night before the trial on my way out the door. And he said, "Are you ready for a trial?" And I said, "Doesn't look like I'm ready for that. I have all of this stuff. I am completely ready. I know where everything is. I know what I want to do. I know who our witnesses are. They're all under subpoena. I am ready to go. I have reviewed the rules of evidence. I'm ready to go." And he said, "No, are you ready for trial?" I said, "Whatever do you mean?" And he said, is your mind ready for the task ahead of you?" Sat down with him and he talked to me about mindset. He talked to me about getting my subconscious brain in league with my conscious brain so that I'd be ready to do this thing. Fast forward 40 years, three weeks ago today, I was in a pre-op room at a hospital, as most of I was facing a major surgery. And my family, Jackson was there, one of my sisters, my family was there. And somebody noticed that I was talking under my breath and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready." They said, "You've done all the work. You've done all your exercises. You've paid your copay. You have set up your house so that, you're ready to come home and start." "What do you mean?" I said, "No, I need to get ready for this." And what I had done was created a mantra for myself. And it's called TWOS, TWOS. I'm going to show this to you now because I think it's going to be very helpful for you as you go forward into your bar journey preparation at this point, that you too can come up with mantras that help you get ready for the task ahead of you. T stands for trusting the process. When you trust the process, you release the anxiety behind and it clears your mind and allows you to just pull the information that you need out at the time. If you go into the exam, you think about the exams that you've taken before. And these may be law school exams. This may be the LSAT or the SAT. This may be a prior bar exam, maybe several of them. You think about that anxiety. What did it do? Did it help you? No, it got in your way. And when that anxiety gets in your way, you tend to distrust everything that you've done, everything that you've learned, everything that you've tried to put in your brain. So the very first thing is to trust the process. And you've heard us say this over and over. You don't need to go outside this course. You don't need to invent things on your own. We've already done that for you. Just trust the process and you'll see that the anxiety starts to lessen. For me, just by way of metaphor, I needed to start trusting that the nurses knew what they were doing, that the doctor had reviewed my case and he knew which knee he was going to be replacing. That the anesthesiologist do what he was doing, that everything was in place and I really couldn't affect it. So I just had to trust the process. And as I said my mantra over and over, my family could see that my anxiety level was going down at the same time. This is a great book, is where I pulled this from, by a famous show called Welcome the Unwelcome. Welcoming the Unwelcome. Maybe you'd rather be doing something different this holiday season. Maybe you just be happy just to kick back, be with your family, be with your friends, maybe go on a trip, maybe just go to a sports bar every night and watch the endless amount of entertainment that's available to you. But no, you're not. You're studying for the bar exam. And it may be unwelcome to you at this time. Really think about that. Is this something that you are resenting? Is this something that you have a grudge about that you have to study? Or is this something that you can welcome? And you can bring that sense of dis-ease into you. You can sit with it. You can hold it. You can understand why it's important to go through this process and what you want on the other end. And when you embrace the pain of what you're going through, then when that pain comes to visit you, it's not nearly as stark. It doesn't hurt nearly as much. You expect it. You know it's going to be there. When your friends call up and say, come on, leave your books. Let's go get a few drinks. And you say, no, I really can't. I have to study criminal procedure tonight. You can embrace that pain and welcome that unwelcome feeling. And what it does is help you center and help you see your way forward, what you really want to do, what you want to get out of this. So you come as you are to the process, you welcome the unwelcome thoughts that you have, and you move forward. Offering gratitude every single day is something that I hope that you all do, that you wake up and you are grateful for the fact that you had an education, that you went to college, that you went to law school, that you found this course, that you know how to study, you know how to read, you know how to put things together. You have resources that you haven't even drawn on yet. And be grateful for those people that support you. Be grateful for these processes that we've put together to help you. Just be grateful that you're in this exciting and adventurous time in your life. And when that happens, then you can release the resentment that you have about what's happened in the past and why you haven't passed and why you don't have your dream job yet and why other people seem to have no problem at all passing the bar. And offer gratitude for the opportunity, because most people in our society do not have the opportunities that you have facing you right now. And finally, seek the way forward. Surrender your ego. You don't have to either change the process to meet your own needs. You don't have to rewrite the questions. You don't have to do 2,000 MBE questions. You don't have to go find other sources. You can surrender that ego. And along with surrendering your ego, you need to surrender your super ego. And that's the part of your brain that talks badly to you. This is the part of your brain that says things to you that you would never say to your friend. You're stupid. You're an idiot. You're not good enough. You're never going to pass this exam. Those are all super ego comments. And when you seek the way forward, when you remember that God gave us eyes in the front of our head for a reason, and you're always seeking the way forward, then you can let all of that self-critic go. And that's so important when you're in this process. I'm giving you permission. If you want, you can screen save what I put together here. You just press Command-Shift-3, and that'll put a screenshot on your desktop or your laptop. And I'm giving you permission to do that. But more than that, make up your own. Make up your own tunes. Make up your own mantra. Say it every morning. Every morning before I try to get out of bed with this knee, I say my mantra. And I really think through it. I get myself ready. And that's how you get ready for this exam. That's how you're going to get ready for every trial. It's not just what's in the notebooks. It's what you have in your mind. If you have not signed up to take June's class on Calming the Chaos, you need to do it. You need to do it. It's an essential part of your studies here. And more than that, more than anything else, you just have to believe in yourself. It doesn't matter how many times you haven't been successful. Seek the way forward, surrender your ego, offer gratitude, release your resentment, welcome the pain, welcome the unwelcome, and just trust. Trust the process, release the anxiety, trust that you can do this. You've got this.
June, I know this is your jam.
Yeah, but there's nothing to say. You know how I feel about Tracy. Her and I on so much on the same thinking process there. And I love this. I think it's absolutely perfect. And this is one reason why we do the gratitude challenge right before the exam. This is a lot of what we do in the mindset call. But again, like Tracy said, you have to do the steps and stop with the excuses.
Got it. Absolutely. Thank you both. I would just say it's the only bar review course I'm aware of that even talks about this stuff. And everybody else just says, learn the material, memorize the rules. So there is a substantive difference. So thank you all for that. Our time is about up for today. Let me just thank you all for being here. If you're watching on replay or in the podcast, we're glad to have you with us as well. We will be back next Wednesday, the 13th. We'll be leading up to our boot camp booster. Again, that's coming up on the 16th and 17th, and you can register. There's still space available. We'd love to see you there for that session. So thanks, Tracy. Thanks, June. Thank you, Brianna, for being here. And I hope everybody has a great study weekend. Keep your eyes focused. Keep your twos in front of you. And we will see you all again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.